You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't want to talk about is selling without a script. That's one of the reasons when we spoke about your book, I loved the idea. And when you pitched me your book, I was like, we're in. Because every sales experience I've ever had, bearing in mind also a woman selling in a male-dominated industry, you know, speaking on stage and selling from stage, or selling a service or an agency, which we do with publishing, I was always doing sales training. It was like, here's your script. Do this, look at them this way, sit this way, and it was just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, some of it is strategic stuff that makes sense, right? And tactical things. But if you get on a conversation and you're reading a script and your eyes are moving and somebody can see that, or they can just feel it, I've always just felt it feels really icky and uncomfortable, especially as a woman with or whatever gender you are, having feminine energy. If you're naturally using feminine energy and you have to change it to sell, the results don't lie, right?
Interestingly, what else happens is that once you get a kind of, if I can say, a masculine script, you tend to, your whole body language changes, and then you start to try and push your voice, which also sounds a bit over the top and a bit pushy. So the whole thing is then changing. Even though you think you're doing a pretty good job, you're not doing a pretty good job at all, because you've just changed personality, you've changed the whole gambit. And this is what guys really hate, when you have females in a business who are then alpha females. That's what that is.
Yeah.
You know, we only have to go back a few years, well, actually not a few years, quite a few years, to sort of the war years, when everybody went off to war, and then, you know, all the women were at home sort of fiddling with their plugs and whatever else they had to do to get the family and the home sorted and things. And of course, the war hierarchy in the army, etc., was very much you know, a strict sort of, you report to you, whatever. So when people came back, the world that we created as women suddenly had to be dismantled again, because the guys were coming back and they were bringing with them the hierarchical way of doing business in an office. And I remember my father, you know, he went to work. My mother didn't leave me till I was 16. Wow. You know, she didn't work at all. And she was the norm, not, you know, the opposite. So I think when it comes to thinking about that, I'm just going off on one here.
Don't worry.
I'm just thinking that when you are sitting in your feminine power, it's your natural power. When you're not sitting in your feminine power, you're sitting in something that isn't natural. It isn't you. They aren't your words. They aren't your actions. And everybody can see it and read it.
Yeah. I'm curious, Suzi, from your perspective, obviously you've been in sales for quite some time, you shared in the book. You've also mentored quite a few different people in sales over the time and seen what's worked and what's not worked. I think a lot of time we have to unlearn things as much as learn them.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, when it comes to sales, is there the right approach being only feminine energy or only masculine energy? Do we have to commit to one or the other?
No, we don't. I mean, clearly there are times when you have to pull a little bit more of your masculine energy. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, stay with what you were born with. There was a reason you were born with it. And that's where your power lies. You know, men are the same. I love male salespeople, fine. But I don't love a woman selling like a man, as it were.
Yeah, it's a really good observation as well, because, you know, when we're saying being born with it, I always lean, yes, we talk about women and men, but I always lean on the energy, right? It's like if you're trying to force the wrong energy, like if you're natural, I've met some women who are really masculine and they sit really well in their masculine energy. But it's if they're forcing it that I think sometimes it clashes, right?
It's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, it goes against the intuition that essentially they could tap into and get much better results.
I think that's the thing. I mean, I think any of us will pick it up just like that if somebody is not sitting in their centre, as I call it. And my job is to really understand what's going on with a person that they're not getting the results that they're hoping for, and seeing if I can spot what's going on. And many times it's because of this pushing the energy in a way that's not natural to them. If I met them in a coffee shop, they would be a completely different person. And yet, you put them into a sales situation, and this rather sort of pushy sort of face comes over them, and it all goes a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
So, we don't stay in our feminine hearts, we go in our masculine minds.
Yeah, so true. Now, Suzi, I'm curious from your perspective. I think a lot of what you shared comes down to confidence, right? It's like trusting your intuition is something I hear so much. And it's about being confident that you know what you're doing and that actually you don't need to listen to the script. You can follow your own intuition.
Scrap the script.
Exactly. But what often I find is that's the bit people struggle with, right? Sometimes it's hard to be confident and trust your gut and your intuition. Have you always been quite confident, or have there ever been times where you've had to build it up, or you haven't been the confident Suzi that we've got sat in front of us?
Goodness. I would say I appear on the outside to be like that, but I'm not what would I call myself? A quiet achiever. So I've never shouted from the rooftops about anything I've ever done. It's just not what I do. I am a great observer. I watch people. I watch how they interact. I'm very on the metal, as I would call it there. But yes, of course I've struggled. My mess is my message. I learnt the hard way. I had to piece all of this stuff together. I could see so many people around me struggling in the same way as I did years and years and years ago. And slowly but surely you learn different bits and pieces, different techniques or whatever to calm yourself down, to make yourself feel more confident. But that comes with, I think a lot of it comes with people questioning you and bringing things to the forefront of your mind. You've probably heard things before, but you've never really processed them. So I think there's some of that going on as well.